Data models are the foundation of any data warehouse architecture designed to deliver trusted data for reporting and analytics. Being the very core of such incredible machinery, it only makes sense to ensure that the data models work smoothly without giving any errors or disrupting the development process. So how can data modelers achieve this nirvana of complete trust and confidence in data models and skip the lengthy testing cycles? The answer lies in performing thorough data model verification checks during the design time and right before they are deployed. Hi, my name is Farhan Ahmed Khan and I am a technical content specialist here at Astera Software. In this 7-part series, I'll be taking you through this essential toolkit for data warehousing from data modeling all the way to consuming your data in BI tools. In this video, I'll be talking about how you can ensure the quality of your data warehouse schema with in-depth data model verification and how it can impact the overall timeline of your data warehouse project. When creating the data warehouse schema, data modelers have to be careful about a lot of finer details for their data models to run smoothly. To give you an idea, we'll look at two major data modeling phases that greatly benefit from verification checks. First are the verification checks during the design time. Data models are built with reference to your source and destination databases. You need to make sure that your models meet certain rules and standards of these databases and have no logical errors. From the source data modeling perspective, different types of verification involve looking for field-level mismatches between the model and the source database. These range from differences in data types, indexes, aliases, column and table names, all the way down to character lengths, nullability of columns, primary keys, and missing fields in the database. In essence, if the database tables and source data model are not in sync, you'll get errors at a much later stage when you are using the data models for building data pipelines and mapping fields. Let's talk about building the destination schema, which is a dimensional model in this case. It requires you to configure facts and dimensions by defining business and surrogate keys, transaction date keys, SCD roles, row identifiers, null value checks, and a few other specifications. Let's take the example of an employee dimension. You want to maintain history of various aspects of employees, like when they are promoted, the change in salaries, the date they were recruited and left the company, etc. For this, you'll need to use either SCD type 2 or type 6. To avoid any errors, you'll have to ensure that business and surrogate keys are assigned, relationships are established, and one row identifier is defined. So what will happen if one or more pieces of the puzzle are missing? Let's say the surrogate key hasn't been defined. When you execute the data pipeline for the first time, it will insert the data normally. When the flow runs the second time, you'll get a primary key violation error as the updated employee records will be inserted with the same employee ID. To fix this, the ETL developers will have to communicate this issue to the data modeling team, who will then have to go and find the specific dimension with the missing surrogate key to fix it. Again, all this rework would be a long process. By this point, you must have gotten some idea of how important these verification checks are. Now, the second phase involves the verification checks for ensuring compliance with the destination database. After you have built the data warehouse schema, the next step is to deploy or replicate it in the target database. At this point, you need to ensure that the schema complies with the scripting standards of the destination database provider, which could be Snowflake, Oracle, Azure, or Teradata. To put this into perspective, let's take the example of Snowflake and how it does not use indexes. So if your source system is SQL Server, which supports all different kinds of indexing options, Snowflake will give an error that indexing is not supported when you execute your data loading flow. With the data model verification module in place, you can easily test the quality and integrity of your data models before they are either deployed on the target database or used for populating the data warehouse. It saves teams a lot of development hours that would otherwise be spent in redoing the data model design and rebuilding the data pipelines. Now, the million-dollar question is, does your data modeling team need a verification system? Let us walk you through the benefits of having a competent data model verification system in place. First, it allows you to pinpoint where the errors and warnings exactly are. Consider you have about 60 tables in your OLTP database from which you have created a source data model. Some tables could have well over 30 fields. Now, when you are trying to load data in these tables, your database provider gives the error that certain data types and character lengths are not supported and must be changed. Imagine how much time it would take you to scour through the data model, check each entity, and correct all these errors. Having a data model verification system helps identify all the errors and warnings instantly and provides a complete context of where they are. It practically takes out the guesswork from testing your data models and directs you right where you need to perform fixes in your schema. The second benefit is that it saves multiple teams from going back and forth with each other. Data warehousing projects have multiple teams handling various aspects of the data warehouse. The data modeling team works with the business users to determine their reporting needs, consults with database administrators to get provider specifications, builds and deploys the models, and finally gives the green signal to the ETL developers to start building pipelines for loading data. Now, even with a data warehousing tool, it is a labor-intensive process. But the errors generally don't show up until you reach the point of executing data pipelines. An in-depth data model verification system saves users from going back to the starting line, making changes to the data model, handing it over to the next team, and then running the data loading flows to check if it works fine. By making the fixes as you design the data models, you can streamline the process dramatically, speeding up the entire development cycle by hours, if not days, or even weeks. The third benefit is compliance with the database provider's scripting rules. Let's say your OLTP database is in SQL Server and you are building the data warehouse in Oracle. When deploying your schema on an Oracle database, you are likely to encounter issues with restrictions in data types and character lengths, as both providers handle these parameters differently. Similarly, you might get an error on having a clustered index in your destination model, which again, Oracle doesn't support. With the data model verification system in place, you can easily resolve these compliance issues well before deploying the schema on the Oracle database. This saves both data modelers and ETL developers many hours worth of development rework that would otherwise go into identifying the issues and resolving them in each data model entity. Lastly, an effective data model verification system can be the holy grail for data warehousing teams. It runs hundreds of checks both at the design time and deployment time to ensure your data models are stable. It allows testing the integrity and accuracy of the models based on the reporting requirements and ensures that it meets the scripting standards of the respective database provider. With everything in order before the data models are deployed and handed over to the next team, organizations can benefit from significant time savings, leading to a reduced project timeline. Astera DW Builder is an agile, metadata-driven solution that allows you to design, deploy, and test data models and utilize them for building data load pipelines, all from a single platform. It comes packed with an in-depth data model verification module that stands guard at the deployment time and ensures no error or warning goes past unchecked by the user. With just a single click, the platform provides you with a complete picture of the health of your data models. From checking for missing business keys, relationship anomalies, and mismatched data types to ensuring compliance with the target database's scripting standards, you can